My name is Andy Serwer. I'm the moderator of this panel on impact investing. I am the editor-in-chief of Yahoo Finance. And one thing that I should note before we start is that we are streaming this panel on Yahoo, and which I think is awesome. And that means people from around the world have an opportunity to hear what these people have to say, which is great. So please join me in welcoming the impact investing panel. And I'm going to quickly introduce them, and then they're going to talk a bit about what they do. This is Claudia Munce to my left. To my immediate left is Erika Karp. To her left is Adena Friedman, and on the far right, my far right, on the end over there is Vicki Escarra. Correct?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I think that we're going to just go around quickly and have these guys talk about what they do, just to give you an idea where they're coming from. So Claudia, why don't we start with you? And succinct.
All right, succinct. I'm Claudia Fan Munce, as you already heard. I run the venture capital group for IBM. We're a strategic arm of IBM, looking at the innovation that we can bring in from the venture invested company. So I've been part of the venture startup community around the world for the past 15 years. And of course, being a woman myself, a STEM myself, and mother of 2 daughters, I'm passionate to be here. I'm really happy to be here, and particularly also as a board member of Bank of the West, supporting this very special event. Thank you.
Great. Erika.
I'm Erika Karp. I am the founder and CEO of the Cornerstone Capital Group. And our job is to move money towards sustainable companies, sustainable asset managers. We advise people like the UN, the Global Compact, the Clinton Global Initiative, the World Economic Forum. And the idea, again, is to move not just millions and not billions, but we need to move trillions to support the initiatives and the imperatives in society. And money can help do that. Finance is a force for good. And we'll talk about that.
Great. Adena.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adena Friedman, and I'm the president of NASDAQ. NASDAQ is a global financial technology company. We operate exchanges. As you know, of course, we operate the NASDAQ exchange here in the U.S. We also own and operate many of the exchanges in the Nordics. But one thing that we do that a lot of people are not as familiar with is that we provide our software and technology expertise to dozens and dozens of exchanges around the world, in Asia, Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. And so we do really promote economic growth through our technology as well as through our exchanges.
Okay. Thank you, Adena. Vicki.
Yes, hi. Hi, I'm Vicki Escarra. I'm the global CEO of Opportunity International, which is a next-generation financial services nonprofit. We operate in 28 countries around the world. We serve 12 million women, providing them loans, savings, insurance products, all related to education, agriculture, technology. As was said earlier today, our women repay their loans 98% of the time. And so it's great to be with you all today. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, Erika, you said something very provocative, so I'm going to start with you.
Okay.
And that is that you said money is a force of good, something to that effect. And so how could that possibly be? I thought money was the root of all evil. And can you talk about what specifically impact investing is?
Money is a tool, okay? Finance is a discipline. Capitalism can be beautiful, and economics is poetry. So if we understand, I am not.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, it is. We are talking about a discipline, a framework, a way of thinking, and a way to get impact. So when you ask me what impact investing is, frankly, it's just investing. All right, done properly with the enhanced analytical processes of systematically looking at the environmental, social, and governance imperatives that are facing the world, right? So it's a systematic, enhanced analytical process. If we can take finance and extract the ideology, extract the advocacy, the policy, if we think of the discipline of finance as a pragmatic, analytical approach that enables investors, asset owners, and asset managers, and investment banks, and every piece of the capital markets to do what they do better well, you can start to be intentional about your investing and intentional about measuring returns. So impact investing, one day when we get to where we want to be, sustainable investing, double bottom line, triple bottom line, SRI, socially responsible investing, it's just investing done better.
Okay, I want to push back on that a little bit, perhaps. But first, I want to ask Vicki if she has anything to add, because I thought it was just socially responsible investing. But say, okay, Vicki.
So it's not just in the private sector that impact investing is really important. It's also very important in our work. So we have placed $9 billion of equity into the marketplace. We do this in small to medium-sized loans for women. We expect them to pay back, as I said, they do. We're announcing a new relationship today with the largest fintech company in Africa called MyBucks. And the reason we're doing that is because with their technology, with our infrastructure, we'll be able to double the number of women that we're serving around the world. So as opposed to 13 million, it'll be up around 25 to 30 million. Our goal is by 2020 to develop 20 million jobs, which will affect 100 million families. So that's why when you look, and so MyBucks will bring the social impact, the commercial capital into our banks because we own and operate them today, and will allow us to grow exponentially. So we're strong believers in capitalism. We think it's very good. It provides dignity and purpose to men and women doing work around the world, even those that are the poorest of the poor.
Okay, Claudia, I know that IBM is a big believer in capitalism. So how does impact investing relate to IBM?
You know, I think it's really easy to think about how you get to stay around for over 100 years, serving 173 countries. And the health of those community and country is critical to your business success. And IBM has always, our culture really is about how do we be innovative, but in innovations are essential to our business, but also to the world. And I think is very, very much, you know, if you look at all the things that we have done, the community in which we employ our employees, in community in which we sell our product and services, the health of these community to the extent that we can provide some beneficial influence by investing, collaborating, working with them, has always been our heritage in our culture.
Okay. I want to ask you the same kind of question, Adena. NASDAQ and impact investing. How is it connected?
Sure. Well, first of all, I think that if we think about what is the role of an exchange in a community generally, it really is to be there to help promote economic growth. We are there to say everything that Erika said. That was just so well said, because finance can be a catalyst for positive change within a country, and the exchanges are there to help those money flows occur seamlessly and with the least amount of friction possible. They're there to make sure that people have the ability to meet the opportunities that are in front of them, to be able to find the capital that will allow them to grow and create jobs and change their communities. And that is the purpose of an exchange. I really believe in the mission that an exchange provides to an economy. And one of the things that NASDAQ does, I think two things. One is that we are part of the World Federation of Exchanges, and we've been leading an effort within the World Federation of Exchanges to promote sustainable operation of the exchanges, as well as sustainability within our issuer community within each of the economies where we operate. So sustainability is an important imperative to make sure that we really are focused on governance as well as sustainable activities within the communities where we operate. So that's one area that we're focused on. I think the other thing that we do within NASDAQ is we do help companies connect with investors who are impact investors. More and more and more companies are asking us to help them figure out which investors are impact investors, where their sustainability programs will matter to those impact investors. So we have a whole service that we operate within our organization globally, not just for NASDAQ-listed companies, but for any listed company, to connect the companies to impact investors to make sure that they can get access to that capital.
And let me tell you something, it makes a difference. It makes a difference. If I did an IPO, I would list on the NASDAQ right now, just so you know.
Thank you very much.
After what you just heard? That's pretty. She's pretty good then. Good, Adena. Erika, but I want to push back a little bit here, okay? And I think we might have some questions coming. But I always thought, you know, that investing, you were supposed to just get a return for your shareholders. And you were not supposed to focus on anything else, because the only thing that matters is total return to your shareholders. And then if the shareholders make a lot of money, then they can do things like good works. And that you have no business doing anything except focusing on the bottom line. That's my understanding.
And you're right. You are right. Yes. My job is to maximize the returns to my shareholders. And I will do that. So my job is to maximize the return to my shareholders. And I will do that as a Delaware C Corp. That's my job. That's the job of my board of directors. But we will do that over the long term. And we will do that with a consciousness of the most material environmental, social, and governance imperatives and activities that are going to affect the ultimate economic and profit outcomes of the firm. If my clients and my customers and my advisors, if my whole supply chain is dead because we have destroyed the planet, well, you know what? I'm not going to drive a lot in revenues. Okay? So the idea is, if you think about the health of all the stakeholders, all right, if you think about the governance and the stewardship of the capital that my investors endow on us to employ, well, you are doing the right thing by your shareholders and by your communities and by the world all at the same time. We reject the notion that there needs to be a trade-off between dealing with long-term societal issues and optimizing shareholder returns. Companies need to aspire to be on something that we call the shareholder alignment frontier. All right? You align the will of your shareholders and the returns that you give to your shareholders in a very transparent way with the needs of society. So we all know we need to deal with climate change, education, healthcare, infrastructure, economic inequality. We need to do empowerment, economic empowerment for women in particular. All right? And then we will both maximize profitability and do a little good while we're here.
Yes, and I actually want to add one more thing, why the financial return will be better. If you're living Silicon Valley, where I live, you know the venture business is about people more than anything. It's about the talent people, it's about the serial founder. And these funds that has an impact as another bottom line to financial are attracting the best of the talent. Aren't you women who like to work with those kind of company, work with that kind of fund? So they're much more likely to get the real entrepreneurs that are passionate about generating a new impact as well as creating a financial return to be part of their portfolio. So I will say the financial return is increasingly more impactful than, in the past when it's just a philanthropic initiative from a venture investment perspective.
I think you had a comment.
So I'd say yes, and if you look at the world today, most especially at wealthy millennials, they are interested in investing, 80% of them, in companies that are socially respectful, impactful. So it really drives the behavior not just of the millennial group, but just also of the baby boomers that are touching it up against them. So my job is in looking at our donors, which most of them, certainly in the top 100, are millionaires and billionaires. They're very interested in giving philanthropically. They're also very interested in giving from a social impact investment perspective, and have said to us, provide us with a series of tools that we can use and that you can offer us so we can invest in both ways, because we want not necessarily an extraordinary return, but we want a modest return because we want to give back and make the world a better place.
Can I just add that all the empirical research shows you that by systematically looking and considering and acting on environmental, social, and governance imperatives, not only do you perform at least as well, but the data shows that there may actually be alpha associated with that. But even if there weren't, why would you not get more and want to learn more? So the data's here, the tools are there, the social media is here. We can do this. No trade-offs.
Agreed.
Well, Vicki, let me ask you, do you have, other metrics then for your organization, for your donors, besides just a return? I mean, how can you measure success besides just, the bottom line? Are there other ways?
Yes, so we have a tool that's called Social Performance Impact Measurement, And it shows how our clients are actually performing. As I said, we're dealing with some of the poorest women in the world. They're living on less than $2 a day. And so we want to make sure that we understand if we are providing them with the loans over a period of time, what is the actual impact on that? So the tool looks at how are they doing socially, how are they doing personally, how are they doing financially, and then how are they doing from kind of a spiritual aspect, if you will, within their community. There are 25 questions. It's an amazing tool. We're one of the few organizations that actually does measure that. It says, is your business doing well? Are you employing people in your community? Are your children going to school? Are you eating well? So forth and so forth and so on. The really great thing is the University of Chicago partnered with us about 6 months ago, and we have on the ground their best researchers actually looking to ensure over the next 3 years that we really know the impact of these investments. So the data is very clear, soon to be clear about the impact around how do we move people out of poverty, most especially focused on women.
And so do you have that model public? Have you made it public for other people? Can other people use it?
We do. So we
Okay.
belong to a symposium of other organizations that are focused on financial performance, and so we are one of 10 groups, organizations that work together. The thing that's really interesting about this relationship that I mentioned earlier about MyBucks is they have the ability to show both clients how they're doing from a financial perspective. Bear in mind, this is a target audience for the large banks. In the future, in the next 15 years, it is a very big target audience because things are getting better, most especially for women in the developing world. But it also, to your point, will show if Vicki Escarra invested $50,000, where did her dollars go? What is the impact of her dollars? And so we're working on that together as an industry.
Can I give you one data point?
And then I want to get to Adena and ask her something, but go ahead.
Just, according to the numbers of the World Economic Forum, something on the order of $50+ trillion of wealth is transferring hands into a millennial, a different generation of investors that are intent upon getting a positive societal impact. $50 trillion is moving over the next generation, and we need to put that to use for good, and it will serve every stakeholder, especially shareholders.
Yeah, I want to get into that a little bit more, but I want to ask, Adena, so there you go. I want to ask you a little bit about your experience in private equity and on the other side of the fence, if you will, as an investor when you worked at the Carlyle Group. Can you talk a little bit about interest by those sort of constituents in this field?
Sure. And before I do that, I would like to say one thing I've noticed with the millennials, which I find so fascinating, is that it's the first generation of young adults who, at least in the U.S., have had service as a fundamental part of their education. And it has really, really changed the way that they look at their employer. And I've noticed it just personally, having hired a lot of millennials into Carlyle, as well as more recently into NASDAQ. They are looking at companies and what the companies are doing to promote philanthropy within their firms, to make sure that they're recycling, to make sure that they're managing their energy efficiently, et cetera, et cetera. They're expecting those employers to do the right thing. And I really believe it comes from the fact that they have grown up with much more of a service mentality due to these required service hours they had in high school. And I find that so fascinating because I have two boys who one's in college and one's in high school, and it's just a fundamental part of who they are now.
Right. I have two daughters, one in college and one in high school. The same thing. I mean, it's an expectation. So when you talk about really changing our society, that's something that people really put into the curriculum of our secondary and high school education. That actually really made a difference, isn't it?
And it's such an easy thing for the schools to have done. It's just a graduation requirement. So just wanted to point that out. I find that fascinating in terms of how that's going to change the culture within corporates, I think, over the next decade. But in terms of Carlyle, just really quickly to actually answer your question, I worked at Carlyle for 3 years, and I was the CFO there. So I oversaw all of the inbound questionnaires that we received from limited partners who are interested in investing in Carlyle funds. And those investors were from all over the world. So they were sovereign wealth funds, pension funds, private investors, family offices, et cetera. And over a period of certainly 10 years, I was only there for 3, but I was noticing the Europeans always were first when it came to expecting and requiring the Carlyle funds to have essentially ESG programs within their funds and their investment criteria. So who were they investing in, and what were they doing within their portfolio to make sure that there were sustainability programs being promoted and monitored? And so that certainly it came from the sovereign wealth funds first, but what I noticed was more and more U.S. funds and U.S. investors were starting to ask the same questions and to demand the same level of responsibility by the general partners to invest in portfolio companies that have proper ESG programs. So that's another kind of what I'll call natural progression that's occurring that then therefore allows for those investment dollars coming from private equity to be put into companies that are focused on ESG. And I think that's another good sustainable way to create change.
I think we can do some questions from the audience, so we'll open it up in a second or two, so get ready. But Claudia, in the meantime,
Yes.
Silicon Valley.
Yes.
I hear that you said that actually there are people there who are looking to make a difference. On the other hand, you hear that it's a pretty cynical place with people who are really, trying to make a good return.
Good money.
So, again, are these two goals compatible?
Oh,
and
absolutely.
are you really seeing it there? And who are some people, or what are some examples in
So,
Silicon Valley?
I think the biggest social impact fund that was announced recently was the $400 million impact fund announced by Aaron Price, who is a seed investor of Tesla, which is a whole new category investor. And I actually just spoke with him, made 7 investments, 5 of them are women founders. Woohoo, right? So when you're sitting in Silicon Valley, and I agree with you, it's all about return. If they don't give the money back, nobody want to talk to them. But when you talk to these credible investors, and these people know how to get to that financial bottom line, and they are putting these new measurement in place for investing, what has happened is the impact investment measurement is now becoming an enabler, as I mentioned earlier, for you to achieve better financial returns. So it's no longer a trade-off, as we said earlier. Enable you to attract better talent, enable you to attract better investors, enable you to achieve better strategic partnership with corporations that has that sense of responsibility on the sustainability and the societal issues. All around, these are all core component of a successful startup companies. So the success of that financial return is still front and center and still what they're trying to achieve, but it's recognizing that by adding this another set of measurement that allow them to achieve a different set of, impact investing milestones will also help them achieve the financial milestones.
Can I give a tool?
You can. You may.
In
Go.
terms of measurement, so this is about intentionality and it's about measuring outcomes. And with regard to the performance of women-owned small and medium-sized enterprises, there's an organization called Heal Our World, run by Michelle Von Giovanni. And there is seriously good data that highlights the extent to which women-founded enterprises seem to outperform. So there's data that's showing, and we have to make the business case for this.
I think when you talk about multiple bottom lines, we do multitasking by default, don't we? We're always juggling.
I have 3
several
kids and a wife.
Exactly.
Yes,
there
I
you
do
go.
multitasking.
There you go.
And we process
so I think
everything.
when they look at all these different kind of measurements that comes in place, a different perspective of running a business, I think they see these incredible talent coming from the woman entrepreneur community, and I think that benefit all of us here.
So I want to add one thing, and that is, the majority of the people that invest with us are either venture capital people or private equity people. And it's simple because if you invest $1 over 5 years, you get $6 of return in our organization because the money continues to work, which makes it incredibly attractive to that segment of the population. And a lot of enthusiasm, as you know. I was just in Silicon Valley a couple of weeks ago because we have so many people that are investing with us. Steve Thiel, who obviously is the founder of PayPal, is very invested with us. Right. But there is a movement.
Peter Thiel.
Peter Thiel.
Right.
Is that what I said? Steve, sorry. You're making me nervous. Anyhow, so very invested with us, but there is this movement, exactly as we're saying, around people that are very thoughtful with regard to returns to do something more after they've made billions of dollars and certainly an impact. So I think we're all saying the same thing.
Just review Peter's portfolio on the upright, and I'll tell you, the stuff that, and there's so many women founders in that. There's so many just life-changing, Alzheimer's disease, cancer disease, all these incredible innovations. So absolutely, I think it's a great point.
So do we have any questions from the audience? I can't believe everyone's that shy.
Shy?
Retiring. We have someone here?
One correct
Yes.
person.
I think you can use this, right? Does it work?
Does it work?
Just hit that button there.
Is it working now? Okay. Hi, my name is Megan Collier. I'm the founder of 2 startups, actually, one of which is a software and hardware company. It's a tech company. And my partner and I, there's 2 of us, and we've been strategizing and trying to figure out when the best time for us to go to Silicon Valley is, and when strategically for our company and for, like the things that you guys touched on, finding strategic partners and building our company. When is the best time as a startup and in a new phase of your company to do that?
The best time for you to seek out Silicon Valley, sort of institutional investment side of it, is when you actually have some, 1-2 year development. You have some kind of market data to show what you're, obviously you start with size of the market is that big, right? It's every entrepreneur's pitch. And then how are you going to participate in that? And of course, you need to have some kind of market data to validate that. So when you get to that point, then you're ready for the institutional investor. But don't look at Silicon Valley just from that, A round. There's a lot of angel investors. There's a lot of C round, accelerator, incubator, people that can help you nurture idea into that, pre-investment company that you want to form. So Silicon Valley trip is depending on the purpose that you have. If you're about to raising a first institutional fund, then you better have something there that you can demonstrate that you're going to give their money back.
Let's see what Adena has.
Sure. So one thing that NASDAQ has done actually is open something called an Entrepreneur Center in the heart of San Francisco. And the purpose of it is specifically for founders to come and get educated on how to build their business. And so there are, we have an accounting firm, as well as a law firm, as well as several universities that have built programs specifically to help founders learn how to navigate not only the investment world, but also to help grow their companies and professionalize their operation. So, and it is essentially free to founders, and it's paid for through our foundation, the NASDAQ Foundation, as well as through the sponsors of the program. It's a non-for-profit. And so just go online and look under NASDAQ, business.nasdaq.com, and there should be a link for the Entrepreneur Center. And that will connect you to a whole world of programs, but also to investors. And they can help you understand what they're looking for.
And we have a founder here too, so let's get the word from her.
So first, let me say, speaking for the founders, the women founders, I will, on any given day, go from a soaring sense of wonder to abject panic, okay? In moments, sometimes, all right? So that's so good of you to admit. So Adena just suggested that that's good of me to admit. Another thing about the millennials is they will sort through BS instantaneously. So it is about transparency, and it's about authenticity. So again, speaking with my founder's hat on, this is really scary. For me, 25 years at very large firms on Wall Street, and now I have no net. And so one of the advisors that I spoke to before I launched my company said, Erika, just know that being an entrepreneur is like jumping out of an airplane and building the parachute on the way down. And I actually, I think about that every day. But the reality is the feedback that we've gotten, and happily I have a financial, background, and that's what we do. But the feedback that we've gotten is that for founders, it is critically important to know finance, to know accounting, to understand how to operationalize what your vision is. And I'll tell you, just if I may, a quote from the single best business strategist, Sun Tzu, in The Art of War. All right? Sun Tzu wrote that strategy without tactics is the longest path to victory. Tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat. All right? So execution is where it's at.
Great. Vicki, last word from you on this.
Yeah, you know, I was struck by what Erika was saying around feeling like when you're an entrepreneur, you're jumping out of an airplane without a parachute. And the thing that I would say about the 12 million entrepreneur women that we work with around the world is imagine what they feel like. You know, they don't have access to the capital markets at all. They're very talented. The stories, and I'll tell one really quickly. I was just in India, I don't know, a couple of months ago, and we were in the slums of Delhi on top of a roof with a group of about 45 young women that had just taken loans from us for the first time. And this one woman came up, we said, you know, how can we help you with your businesses? Because they're all in small to medium enterprise businesses. And she said, I've got a story to tell. And she said, I lived in the village with my husband, mother, and father-in-law, and told them I was going to start a small business because we couldn't feed our kids. The mother-in-law said, you can't. Her husband said, you can't. The father-in-law said, you can't. They all said, you can't. She did anyhow. And we loaned her $60. She started a business making covers for automobile seat covers. And she employed, when we saw her, she had 20 people employed, which included her husband, her mother, her father-in-law, all together with her. And she took us up into all four of her businesses and said, I need more money. And so the thing I would just offer to you all, just as we are trying to wrap up, is, you know, these women around the world are no different, in my opinion, than the four of us. They want the same things that we do. We want education for our children. We want better lives for ourselves. We want better communities, but better families. They want it too.
Well, that is a great message to end with, Vicki, so thank you. And thanks to all of our panelists, Vicki, Adena, Erika, and Claudia. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.